So the same chicken, instead of laying loose, she decides to lay.
No, they call it Chinese food. Boy, baby. So she's kind of
Yeah.
productive.
Yes, very good. Now, do they just roam your area?
Oh, no.
They're inside the cage?
Out there in the fields, smelling.
Oh, it has kills.
Yes, yes.
Right.
It's basically, how many? I would say 50-ish.
Oh, my goodness.
So you don't have an exact count?
No,
So I,
no, I don't.
you don't have a.
Turn your mic on. Better. Author.
Yeah, yeah, they get excited.
Yeah. So they have five that they've had for years, and then they got five new ones.
Oh, man.
And
What am I going to do today? I'll have to just read them myself.
by had to be separate.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. Dump a couple on anybody
They're
read loud.
the yeah.
He's with the buddy, they go married.
The lady coming down the aisle right here would probably read one or two.
Yes.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah.
Sure.
So
We already have them. There.
I'll read two. You can give me a second one. I'll read two. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I will. Okay, so it's the get acquainted moment, and we've got a lot of empty chairs today. I think people are probably on the July 4 holiday.
Don't take that personal, Ted.
Yeah, well, you know, it's what it is. So let's take a couple or 3 minutes, not a whole lot of time because we don't have a whole lot of time. Find someone that you did not ride to church with this morning, and swap first names, and then tell what periodical you might have looked forward to when you were growing up. something that came to your mailbox once a week or once a month, and you just totally looked forward to that. So go. Find somebody you didn't write here with, swap first names,
Goodness.
and a periodical that you enjoyed.
Enjoying summer. It is. It's his first summer, so we're just here. No, he's had and then from property February.
How are you doing?
I'm okay, much better. I started therapy this week.
Did you?
I finally had to throw your flowers away this morning, but they were so
Oh,
weak.
well, I'm glad you.
Basically today.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, now they don't look so good.
Well,
It lasted so long.
yeah.
Trying to figure out, the problem work while he's still.
Okay.
I've been a couple of years that we. Guys. But what is practitioners, who see the different visits.
So over here, quickly, one or two. What periodical did you look forward to hitting your mailbox? Anybody? What's that?
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. What was that? I missed it.
America's Test Kitchen.
Oh.
Nobody knows it, they can't even say it.
Oh, over here. What was your favorite, the periodical you just looked forward to?
Sears catalog.
Poor guy.
Really do.
Especially the Christmas wish book.
Yeah.
Bad magazine.
Forgot about that.
I'm glad there was one other person here that loved Mad Magazine. I did. But I also loved Reader's Digest. That's the one that I look forward to most. Yes,
Field and Stream and Outdoor Life.
Field and Stream Outdoor Life. Anybody else?
National Geographic.
National Geographic. Yeah. Nobody has said Life Magazine.
Oh, yeah, Life magazine.
And what was the other one that competed with it? Look. Yeah.
Yeah.
Life and Look. Those were big ones. Guideposts. Yeah. So with all these empty chairs, I think that probably July 4 has something to do with it, and Gordon has something to share.
I have.
This is, by the way, this is the Fenton Forest Ranger. Right here.
I have brochures. I have 4 brochures. They're expensive to print out and read. And
You take a picture and pass it down.
take a picture. Oh, I didn't take a picture and send it out to everybody. I'll give one to.
Take a picture and then somebody else.
So everybody can get one.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cindy here, Carol Ann Drive, 4th of July fireworks celebration on July 2, not July 4. July 2, that's this coming Thursday night at the Kroll residence, 618 Carol Ann Drive. I don't know if you would have any of you been there for this before?
It's awesome.
It's a commercial, fully blown fireworks show.
Yeah.
There's this, it's as good as what they do at Moss Wright Park, in fact, probably a little better.
It says ice cream.
Yes,
It needs to be the biggest part. Because the pros do not disappoint.
no, that's true. Snacks and treats, ice cream and popcorn is also provided. Come at 8 o'clock, and you might want to come earlier, have a long walk up from our house.
There you go. Okay, well, I made it to the one last year. That's the first one that I'd been there. I'll tell you, if you've not been there, it is an experience worth having.
It's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, bring your own chair.
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
can bring your own lunch there.
yeah, that's a good thing. Unless you want to sit on the ground.
Yeah, yeah, well, just take a picture of it.
Okay, prayer time, prayer requests, praise reports. Yes, Helen.
I'd like us to remember my brother, Dennis Sturwell. He started his dialysis Thursday.
Hmm.
And it's gonna be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week for 3 hours. He learned yesterday. This week it'll be 4 hours.
Hmm.
Pretty
Dennis.
life-changing.
Others, prayer requests, praise reports. Yes.
If we would keep Ken Bartholomew in prayer, he's been readmitted to the hospital for an infection following his prostatectomy.
Hmm. Ken Bartholomew.
Period.
What's that?
Our
Oh,
friend
yes. Yeah, I've missed her the last couple times. Yes.
Linda Kelly. She's quite sick.
Hmm. Well, thank you. Another hand up here. Hey, Bobby.
We got a hand getting a lot better.
Oh, my. Yeah. Stuff happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, fluky stuff.
Stuff happens. Let's pray. Our Father, we know that you hear every prayer. Prayers of praise, prayers of thanksgiving, prayers of petition, and sometimes just prayer, because we know that even if nobody else hears, you've heard it. We thank you for your blessing in our life, for giving us life and breath and strength, the ability to think and to do, the ability to learn more about you, because that's what you want us to do. Pray that you'll be with us today as we open your word and uncover treasures that perhaps we might have missed before. We ask your blessing in Jesus' name. Amen. So, several of you said something about Reader's Digest being the one you looked forward to, and that was mine. Plenty of chairs over here, guys. In thinking about Reader's Digest, the lesson today is kind of like Reader's Digest in that every text that we will be studying today, we've already studied, just so you know. And that's Reader's Digest. It was published other places before it got into Reader's Digest. The reason that I thought about that was as I read through the last few weeks of our study of 2 Samuel, and so week to week to week, we've moved from one chapter to the next, beginning around chapter 11, and then finishing up at the end. And each one of those was a capsule unto itself. So today, what we're going to do is take a Reader's Digest approach to the things that we've actually studied in capsule form over the past, I don't know, 3 months or so, John. I'm guessing. So we won't be going into great depth on many of these texts that we've handed out to you. But at our house, we do puzzles. We have a little room just off the kitchen. Those of you who have been there will know. And we have a puzzle table. I didn't know what a puzzle table was for a long time of my life. And then a girl named Jones, that's Jones, gave us a puzzle table. It's in Utah. We have another one here, and there's a puzzle on it now. There has been all week. We tore that one down. We put all the puzzle out there again. And that's what this lesson is today. We're going to do a Reader's Digest, bringing the pieces of the puzzle that we have studied over the past 3 months together in one time, and pulling that puzzle together toward the end is what I hope we'll be able to get done. So here we go. Someone in the room that will begin with chapter 11, verses 26 and 27. This is 2 Samuel chapter 11, verses 26 to 27. Who's got?
When Uriah's wife heard that her husband was dead, she mourned for him. When the period of mourning was over, David sent for her and brought her to the palace, and she became one of his wives. Then she gave birth to a son, but the Lord was displeased with what David had done.
So that's where it started. Now we could think of starting a lesson on David with him killing Goliath, but that was years before. That was way back. The lessons that we have studied over this past 3 months are largely after David became king in Saul's place, and then took Uriah's wife to the palace to be his wife, and he intentionally sent Uriah to a bad place in the war that they were in, so that he would likely be killed, and as you know, that's what happened. So chapter 12 and verse 1, read it loud enough so that the forest ranger can hear you.
Then the Lord sent Nathan to David, and he came to him and said to him, there were 2 men in one city, one rich and the other poor. We'll begin with this stuff.
Yeah. The Lord was displeased with what David had done. So let's get off of God's immediate displeasure and go to chapter 13, verses 14 and 15. This is 2 Samuel chapter 13, verses 14 and 15.
But he refused to listen to her. He overpowered her, humiliated her by raping her. Then Amnon greatly despised her. His disdain for her surpassed the love he had previously felt to her. Amnon said to her, get up and leave.
Yeah, so who was this? Who was the person who's not named there?
It's David's son, Amnon.
Amnon. David's son, Amnon. So in these verses, Amnon has fallen in lust with his half-sister. And when she turns down his ardor. He just took what he wanted by taking her to bed. And then she said to him, this was bad. It was really bad. Said, if you really want me, go see David, go see your dad, and he'll let you have me. Amnon went into a rage at her saying to go to his dad and try to fix that, and just rejected Tamar. What if you had to pick from a list of emotions, what was Tamar most concerned about? Verse 13.
Samuel 13.
This is chapter 13, verse 13.
And I, where could I take my shame? And as for you, you would be like one of the fools in Israel. Now, therefore, please speak to the king, for he will not withhold me from you.
So here's Tamar, who truly was raped by her half brother, and the main thing she was concerned about was, how will I manage my shame? This is shameful, and people are going to know. And she was just at her wit's end. There was someone else who was very unhappy about this. This is chapter 13, verse 34.
But Absalom fled, and the young man that kept the watch lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there came much people by the way of the hillside behind him.
Now, it said that what did Absalom do? He vamoosed. How come? Why did he leave? Why did Absalom leave?
He thinks to kill his brother.
That's right. Murdered his brother. And he knew that was going to be a problem, especially a problem with his dad. And he just left. Murder, and then out of town for who knows how long. Chapter 13, verse 21. Who else was?
King David heard of all these things. He was very angry.
Very angry. What do some of your other scriptures, if you have them in front of you, what words does it use about David?
Furious.
Use what?
Furious.
Furious. That's a good word. What else? Any other words that you find used there of David? Greatly upset was in the Bible I'm using, and it was just for this, actually these chapters, the Jewish Study Bible. It's really well done. But that's the word that the Jewish Study Bible used, that David was greatly upset. So we go to chapter 14 and verse 28, and Absalom's story continues. Chapter 14, verse 28. Be sure, whoever has that, read loud enough so you can be heard across the room.
Absalom lived 2 years in Jerusalem without seeing the king's face.
So Absalom murders Amnon and leaves for 2 years, and then he returns home. I guess he figures that maybe David will have cooled off a bit, and maybe he'll be able to be safe by returning home. What does it say in that passage, chapter 14, verse 28? What did Absalom look like? Is that not in verse 28?
Head to foot, he was perfect.
He had what?
At the foot, he was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. He had hair that was how long? Had to have been down his back, because it said that he only cut it once a year or so. And when he did, what did it weigh, Lee?
5.
What's that? 5 pounds? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how I don't know how a guy gets that much hair. I don't know how anybody gets that much hair. 5 pounds worth of hair. I mean, my goodness. But that's what it says. That's what Scripture says. So Absalom, in coming home, and perhaps being a little bit, at least a little bit scared of what David thinks and what David might do. So what does Absalom do when he gets back home? Chapter 15, verses 10 and 12.
Then Absalom sent secret messengers throughout the tribes of Israel to say, as soon as you hear the sound of the trumpets, then say, Absalom is king in Hebron. While Absalom was offering sacrifices, he also sent for Ahithophel, the Gilonite, David's counselor, to come from Gilo, his hometown. And so the conspiracy gained strength, and Absalom's following kept on increasing.
So, in that chapter 15, the first several verses, at the very beginning, at least in this Jewish Bible, says sometime afterward, Absalom provided himself with a chariot, horses, and 50 outrunners. Absalom used to rise early and stand by the road to the city gates, and whenever a man had a case that was to come before the king for judgment, Absalom would call out to him, "What town are you from?" And Absalom went on, "If only I were appointed judge in the land, and everyone with a legal dispute before me, I'd see that he got his rights." Thus, Absalom won away the hearts of the men of Israel.
It's not much different than today's politics.
Not much different. Tell me about that, Bobby.
Same strategy.
Same strategy.
Tell you what you want to hear, whether it's true or not.
Yeah. So Absalom sent agents to, well, it says after a period of 40 years had gone by. I don't know what 40 years from when, but in any case, Absalom sent agents to all the tribes of Israel to say, when you hear the blast of the horn, announce that Absalom has become king in Hebron. And then down to verse 12, this conspiracy gained strength, and the people supported Absalom in increasing numbers. Now, he didn't do this by himself. He had an advisor. That's chapter 16 and verse 22. And I know it's not the easiest name.
Okay. So they picked a tent for Absalom. On the top of the house. Absalom went in to his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel.
Yeah, so that was the advice that Absalom got from Ahithophel and Ahithophel. And that was a person who actually was a advisor to both Absalom and to David. And he was playing the middle against both ends.
He had a reason to be supporting Absalom. Ahithophel was Bathsheba's grandfather.
Didn't know that.
That was what?
Ahithophel was Bathsheba's grandfather.
Yeah, so Ahithophel was playing both sides of the street on this thing. And as was just read here, when Ahithophel advised Absalom, he said, "Look, here's how to get everybody on your side." He said, "Go to the palace and lie," that's Lie, "with David's concubines. The people will know you've got what it takes to be king. Because they'll see it, they'll hear about it, they'll know about it." There was another advisor named Hushai. Hushai. He was David's friend, but he also played both sides of that street. He didn't feel particularly loyal to David, so he would tell Ahithophel what to do. So Absalom, I think, is five years down the road now. It was 2 at home, and then he left for 3 years, came back, and he starts building an army. So chapter 17 and verse 1, someone tell us what the size of Absalom's army was.
Moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Now let me choose 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue David tonight."
12,000 men. So it was not a nothing. That was a pretty hefty group there. Now Ahithophel shows up again here, and he was concerned that he had not gotten away with this advice. So chapter 17 and verse 23, who has that one?
When Ahithophel saw that his advice had not been followed, he saddled his donkey and set out for his house in his hometown. He put his house in order and then hanged himself. So he died and was buried in his father's tomb.
So this is a guy that was playing both sides of the street and being an advisor to both Absalom and to David. And he knew, based on what we've learned here about him and his advice, he knew that David would not be amused by what he was doing. And he decided that rather than have David or Joab, David's general, take his life, he decided to go home, and it says right in this Bible, he set his affairs in order, and then he hanged himself. He was buried in his ancestral tomb. So David now, yes.
I noticed that back in chapter 16, like very last verse 23, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
it says that Ahithophel was considered a prophet.
A prophet. Interesting. Yeah.
It doesn't say he was a prophet. His advice was considered as a prophet.
He had a reputation.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So David, anticipating that a civil war was about to break out, he began to put together his army. That's chapter 18 and verse 1.
David mustered the men who were with him and appointed over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds.
And read that 2 and read that second verse.
David sent out his troops, a third under the command of Joab, a third under Joab's brother Abishai, son of Zeruiah, and a third under Ittai the Gittite. The king told the troops, "I myself will surely march out with you."
Yeah, and this is interesting. If you read on to the next verse, it says, but the troops replied, "No. If some of us flee, the rest will not be concerned about us. Even if half of us should die, the others will not be concerned about us. But you, David, are worth 10,000 of us." So this is his troops telling him that that his being there was worth 10,000 to them. So this goes on, and David, in preparing for civil war, also had another request of his army, and that's in chapter 18, verse 5.
The king commanded Joab, Abishai, and Ittai, be gentle with the young man Absalom for my sake. And all the troops heard the king giving orders concerning Absalom to each of the commanders.
Boy, you think about that, and all the troops heard the king give the order about Absalom to all the officers. David had to have been dealing with some level of personal guilt for having been the start of this family tree. And these boys, Absalom and Amnon, and of course there were others too, big family, children of his wives, children of his concubines. So he loved, it seems as though he loved his boys, regardless of their behavior, more than perhaps even his own life. Amnon, he kind of protected him until Absalom took him out, and then along comes Absalom. So now, chapter 18 and verses 14 to 15, and remember that Joab is David's major general. So chapter 18, verses 14, 15.
Then Joab said, I cannot linger with you. He took 3 spears in his hand and thrust them through Absalom's heart while he was still alive in the midst of the terebinth tree. And 10 young men who bore Joab's armor surrounded Absalom and struck him and killed him.
Yeah, so Joab is, he's David's major general. He's the guy. And he's already told David that if you don't straighten this out, people are going to go with Absalom. And he said that they know what you're doing. People know what you're doing. So Joab just took it into his own hands. And it says in this Bible, he took 3 darts in his hand and drove them into Absalom's chest, but he was still alive. You know, he was an easy target for them because he had ridden his donkey under a tree, and all of that hair got caught in the tree, and he was hanging by the hair of his head when Joab comes in and does the 3 darts. But he lived through that. But next, 10 of Joab's young arms bearers closed in and struck at Absalom until he died. And after that, they didn't just leave him there for the animals and the birds. Joab had him buried in a sort of a crater and covered up with stones, big stones. And this Bible said that as a comment on that that Absalom had already built himself a monument to be buried in at the cemetery where we have Jackie and some others of the members of this class. In fact, the person who started it. There is a casket that is up out of the ground, sitting on a pedestal, and I mean it's a permanent kind of pedestal. The name on it is Bridges, I think, John, and he's still alive. and he's doing fine. But he has his casket ready above ground. Well, Absalom did too. He had built his own monument, but Joab dug a hole, covered him up with stones. It wasn't the monument that he had anticipated. So, chapter 19 and verse 1, David learns that his son Absalom has been killed. And what does he have to say about that?
Word soon reached Joab that the king was weeping and mourning for Absalom.
Yeah, read the very first part of that again, the first 4 or 5 words.
Word soon reached Joab.
Is that 19 verse 1?
Yeah, it's 19 verse 1.
Yeah, mine reads, the king was shaken. He went up to the upper chamber of the gateway and wept, moaning these words as he went, my son, Absalom. Oh, my son, Absalom. If only I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son. When it says that the king was shaken, another word in my mind should have been the king was shaken and broken. Those words are just hard words. How did Joab take that? Chapter 19, verses 6 and 7. Who's got that?
In that you love your enemies and hate your friends, for you have declared today that you regard neither princesses nor servants. For today I perceive that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died today, then I would have pleased you well. Now therefore arise, go out and speak comfort to your servants. For I swear by the Lord, if you do not go out, not one will stay with you this night. And that will be worse for you than all the evil that has befallen you from your youth until now.
Now, this is Joab. This is the next man under David. And he's just read in the riot act. He said, you took up for your son when he was leading a conspiracy to take the throne away from you. I mean, that's basically what he just chastised, Joab did, chastised David. Now, David had left town, had left Jerusalem because he had been given advice by one of these two guys, Hushai or Ahithophel, that he needed to get away someplace safer than Jerusalem, where he was. So chapter 20 and verse 3, who has that one? This is about David.
When David returned to the palace in Jerusalem, he took the 10 concubines he had left to take care of the palace and put them in a house under guard. He provided for them, but had no sexual relationships with them. They were kept in confinement until the day of their death, living as widows.
Yeah, amazing. He's been out of town, away, relatively safe. He's got an army around him. He comes back, and those 10 concubines that Absalom had taken on his own accord, and David puts them in a guarded place to be provided for them, but it says he did not cohabit with them. They remained, as you said, John, in seclusion until the day they died in living widowhood. So we come to chapter 21 and verse 1. What was it like for the people during the years that David was gone. Chapter 21, verse 1.
Now there was a famine in the days of David for 3 years, year after year, and David inquired of the Lord. And the Lord answered, "It is because of Saul and his bloodthirsty house, because he killed the Gibeonites."
Now, that's well read. There was a famine during the reign of David, year after year for 3 years. It didn't have anything to do with David and Absalom. This went all the way back to Saul. And we're not going to spend more time on that, but that's the famine during the reign of David, year after year for 3 years. So now, verses 15, chapter 21, verses 15 and 18.
Verse 15, the Philistines again waged war against Israel. David went down with the soldiers, and they fought the Philistines, but David became exhausted. Verse
18.
After this, there was another battle with the Philistines at Gath. At that time, Sibbecai the Cushathite killed Saph, who was one of the descendants of the giants.
Did anybody here in this room go to academy at the Shenandoah Valley Academy? Anybody here? So I was there about, what was it, 2 weeks ago, Jen? Because there was a major Civil War battle, Newmarket, and that is the battlefield itself is not more than 100 yards from Shenandoah Valley Academy today. I mean, it's just right there. And the Union Army attacked from the north. The Confederate Army was defending on the south down near what is now Shenandoah Valley Academy. It wasn't then, of course, but today the memorial, it was a family farm is what it was. And when the battle started, the family went down into the basement of their home and waited out the thing. Ultimately, the Confederate Army prevailed. That's why I bought this cap. I like to prevail. So there's a military academy, Virginia Military Institute, about 20 miles further south down the valley, and the Confederate lines were so weak that they called on Virginia Military Academy to send them some cadets. There were about 650 cadets in training at VMI, and they sent about 200 to the battle. They had to walk 18 miles to get them to where the Confederate lines were. But out of that 200 that sent, about 60 were wounded and 10 died. And they ran the Union troops. They bolted toward the end of the day, and that does go down in the Civil War records as being a victory for the Confederate Army, maybe the last one in the Shenandoah Valley, in that whole long valley. The Union wanted that one so bad, that piece of ground, because that Shenandoah Valley is agricultural largely and could supply food and sustenance to the Confederate Army. It's it's awesome to stand on that ground and imagine what went on that one day.
The reenactment's pretty amazing. I don't think they do it anymore, but we would grab the gunpowder, then make bombs.
Yeah.
It's following after that, but they've got horses and it's the whole gamut. It's
pretty amazing. So this is David's Civil War. If we go to chapter 22, and verse 1.
David prayed to God the words of this song after God saved him from all his enemies and from Saul.
So we're not going to read those words, although you may want to. But David has started with this one relatively short passage, the words of this song. He started writing again. Somehow that ignited within him the desire to continue writing. And we go to chapter 23 and verse 1. Who has that?
These are the last words of David, the inspired utterance of David, son of Jesse, the utterance of the man exalted by the Most High, the man anointed by the God of Jacob, the hero of Israel's songs.
So David, despite all of the at least psychological and emotional trauma that he's been through, somehow he's regained the spark of writing and praising God, and these are among his last words. So we'll leave that, and we're really getting toward the end. Chapter 24 and verse 1.
Again, the anger of the Lord was aroused against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, "Go, for Israel keep you."
The king said to Joab, his army commander, "Make the rounds of all the tribes of Israel from Dan to Beersheba, and take a census so that I may know the size of the population." Joab answered the king, and he goes on talking, "Why should my lord king want this?" Why would he want that? Apparently it wasn't exactly what God wanted either. So they went ahead with it. And Israel, they counted 800,000 troops. And in Judah, 500,000 more troops. Verses 12 and 13 that's still chapter 24, 12 and 13.
God tell David, this is what the Lord said. I am giving you three options. Choose one of them for me to carry out against you. So Gad looked at David and said to him, shall there come on you 3 years of famine in your land? Or 3 months of fleeing from your enemies while they pursue you? Or 3 days of plague in your land? Now then, think it over and decide how I should answer the one who sent me.
So for some reason, doing a census upset somebody. Now here it says God. However, this particular commentary said that occasionally Bible writers, those who wrote these books, 1st and 2nd Samuel, would somehow say that God was doing something when perhaps it might have been some other power doing that. So this says that God said, okay, David, I didn't want you to do the census anyway, but since you did, do you want to have a 7-year famine or a 3-month flight from your enemies, or just 3 days of pestilence? Anybody want to guess what pestilence is? It's COVID. It's polio. It's influenza. It goes on and on. That's what pestilence is. And with that, we come to a part that we did not did not study, but we're going to finish up with it now. 1 Kings chapter 1 and verses 1 through 4.
Now King David was old and advanced in age, and they covered him with garments so that he could not keep warm. So his servant said to him, have him search for a young virgin for my lord the king, and have her attend the king and become his nurse. Have her lie on your chest, so that my lord the king may be born. So they searched for a beautiful girl throughout the territory of Israel and found a big bag, a Shunammite, and brought her to the king. The girl was very beautiful, and she became the king's nurse and served him. But the king did not approve it.
So, so when I read that, what I read was David was old and cold, and and somehow he felt younger and warmer when he had this beautiful young woman in bed with him, but he was not.
It's young, but I think she was middle aged, having hot flashes that kept her.
That could be. Oh, this is going downhill fast. Um, so last verse, chapter 2, and verses 10 through 12. Read it so it can be heard all the way across the room.
Then David joined his ancestors. He was buried in the city of David. David ruled Israel for 40 years, 7 years in Hebron and another 33 in Jerusalem. Solomon took over the throne of his father David. He had a firm grip on the kingdom.
Yeah, you did a good job with that. So David slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David. He had reigned 40 years, 7 years in Hebron, 33 in Jerusalem. And Solomon sat upon the throne of his father David, and his rule was firmly established. So we're done with this thing for now. Here's what I'd like to know right before we walk out of the room. What will you remember from this Reader's Digest ride through 20-some chapters of 2 Samuel and one chapter of 1 Kings? What will you remember, and how, if at all, will it influence your life? Anybody? Yes, what will you remember?
So God forgave David. David still had to live with the consequences
Yes.
of his sins. And he was told by Nathan that sword, so to speak, that Uriah died from, that sword would remain in his family.
Yeah.
And never depart his death. And I just, try to take that as a lesson to myself, that even though we're forgiven, the things that we've done, sometimes we take the consequences.
Yeah. Who else? Who else will remember something from this? Yes.
Well, sometimes we're hard on David because we think he should have been a little stricter on his sons. But yet God said he was a man after his own heart. And sometimes God's, he's not as strict as
where we are.
Yeah, he takes us where we are. And even when he deals with us as our father, maybe we appreciate the fact that he's not so strict on us.
Yeah.
It's forgiving and loving. Even when Absalom was rebelling about him, he wanted him to be cared for.
Yeah.
And he was grieved when he
The
wasn't.
good news is there's a lot of young adults at church today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're done with Samuel. The quarterly is 1st and 2nd Corinthians. So we're going to be starting that and go through this. There's probably enough quarterlies here for one per family or one per couple. Get one before you leave.
And I think they're online as well.
Yeah.
The North American Division website, you can get access to the quarterly as well, but we're gonna.
And these are
The quarterlies over the next quarter.
and these are large print. If someone wants large print. What's now?
Corinthians is going to talk about these concubines and Absalom.
Oh, I don't remember that. So here's your quarterlies. We'll go as far as we'll go with them. One per couple or per family.